Hi everybody, I'm Super Testnet, and today we're going to talk about Nostr as the first inaugural NostrDevs workshop thing. Yeehaw! Let's get to it. So we don't really have a format, so I'm going to invent one, and I'm going to try to make it a little bit like LitDevs and BitDevs. We're going to go over some recent news in the Nostr space, and then I'm going to do a little demo. My favorite part of BitDevs and LitDevs is always when someone demonstrates something. So I'm going to do a little demo of a Python client that I made the other day and how I made it. And then you guys can start hacking, getting down and dirty into the Nostr stuff. Me and Captain Stacks will be, well, where is he? There he is. Me and Captain Stacks and Austin will be available for any questions you have if you want to learn how to do Nostr stuff. And you can just get hacking. Start making some bot or something. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Yeah. So let's get started, and I will go over some of the recent news. From in-house, we got the Booger client, not client, Booger Relay. This is invented by our very own gentleman in the back there, Kian Kubide. He made this, and it is a Nostr relay in Deno, which is, I think, related to JavaScript, because everything up here says JavaScript. But it's super cool. It's basically a Nostr relay that is very lightweight. He shows that there's only like 400 lines of code in the whole thing. This thing is only 93 lines, and it like loads up your SQLite database and then does the main stuff, I think. Then you got something called Postgres, because I guess it supports Postgres as well. So pg.js. So in only 400 lines of code, it supports two different backends. SQLite.js lets you connect to that and store events there. It's pretty cool, good stuff. And then Validate is the main one that it looked familiar to me, where this like checks what each event looks like. You know, events got these various fields, and it makes sure that all the fields are there, and then inserts events into your database and retrieves them if they're requested. So it's pretty cool. It shows that it's very easy to write Nostr relays as well as Nostr clients. But check it out. If you like JavaScript, Node.js stuff, this looks like a great one to run, to try out if you want to get started running a relay. Next on my list of things to talk about, we've got Nostr Connect Deep Dive. So this is pretty cool. Nostr Connect is a way to enable key rolling. So if you have a master private key, and then for every service you sign into, you give them a different public key. And if one of them gets compromised, no big deal. You can just like revoke that public key and make a new one. How are we doing on audio, Logan? We're good? Okay. So yeah, Nostr Connect is pretty cool. This gives a deep dive, gives diagrams, shows you how it works, gives you some implementation ideas if you want to get started with it. And this is hopefully going to become a new standard rather than like typing in the same private key into every web service, and then they get hacked and you lose your identity. This could be a better way to do that on Nostr. So I hope everyone takes a look and starts implementing this as the new standard. If you're making a Nostr app, let's do it right. Don't just get people's private key and run with it.
Question.
What's up?
Is this just like deriving more private keys from like a master private key, or is it like
No, I think
off where you're signing a message or something?
I think it's more like you create a new key pair for every service, and I don't believe they're derived from your master private key. I think it signs a message that it posts on Nostr and says, I authorize this private key to act on my behalf through key delegation. And then if you revoke it, you just update that message and say, and now I authorize this new one instead. So that's a way of revoking access to represent you to delegated keys.
Based on NIP26?
Yes. Nostr Connect is based on NIP26. It's extended with NIP46, I think, which talks about how to do this on mobile devices, because it's harder on mobile. But this fixes that.
Is there any clients that support this yet?
I believe the Arc app supports it, Christopher David's app. I believe it's still in development, though. And I think the only other thing, I believe the Nostr Connect people made a demo application that supports it. So
Do you have like a web app to like generate the keys, or you gotta run it yourself?
I'm not sure. I think the best way to find out about this would be to go to search for Nostr nips, and I believe it's nip 46, and that should have all of the details. Nip 46 is Nostr Connect, so there may be in this page examples of how to use it. But yeah, I think the Nostr Connect deep dive is another good thing to look at. So you maybe should take a look at that. Nostr Connect deep dive. If you search Google for it, I bet it'll come up. Nostr Connect deep dive. Nope, didn't come up. You'll just have to guess what the URL is. Come see me afterwards. Yeah, one thing I didn't do. Actually, I can do this really quickly. I'm going to put all of these links in a Telegraph post. Telegraph is a service from Telegram where you can write little markdown articles and send them to people. So what are we calling this event? NostrDevs 0001. And I'm just going to put in the links for it. Booger. No, it doesn't run it in a browser. It's a Node.js, so you'd run it on a server or a desktop computer.
Daniel's evolution of Node.js. It's the guy that made Node.js, I think, and then he made Daniel you can run JavaScript on the server. Okay.
The next thing I wanted to show off is this onosendai.tech, which I think is a Japanese Nostr client. And this one's kind of cool just because of its funky interface. All events show up as little stars in the sky, and when you click them, if you hover over them, your little cursor starts spinning around. You can click them, and then it'll show you, that post, which is kind of neat. So, like, I'm going to go over to this one down here and click that. And it's just a kind of funky way of interacting with Nostr, because you can make interfaces that work however you like them to. But this one's kind of neat. So, onosendai.tech. Hello? Onosendai. Then
Is Telegraph, is that just clear text?
No, this doesn't go to a Nostr relay. This goes to Telegram's servers. But I will get to, there is an equivalent for Nostr, which I will get to in just a moment, because it's on my list to get to. But I'm posting it here. This gives you a link you can share with people, and then they can see your stuff. So what else we got? We got Nostr Rocket. I tried to read this, and it's full of buzzwords that make me want to vomit. So I have not finished reading this. But, so like, self-organizing unorganization sounds like a made-up thing. It sounds like an alternative to a DAO. But, like, I don't want to call it a DAO because that's a buzzword. So I'm going to call it this other buzzword that I just invented. This talks about being radically fair organizational mutexes. Like, it's just a bunch of nonsense words. But it might be cool. It's for project creators. You can bring your project or idea forward to a stage where you can quit your job and focus on what really matters despite your lack of funding. There's some humor in there. It's for developers. I don't know what all this is. Anyway.
This looks sketchy.
Yeah, well, I just went to Fiat Jeff's Twitter where he posts everything that comes out of Nostr every week. So somebody made this sketchy thing. Yeah, it looks sketchy to me too, but the comment section's kind of cool. Anyway, yeah, this seems like a very Ethereum-y thing, but I'm going to put it on my list. Make a DAO that's not a DAO. There you go. If anyone wants to check that out. Next thing on my list to talk about is badges. So I've got a delegate here to tell you about badges who's actually made some. Our friend Captain Stacks.
What's up, everyone?
Here is a microphone. Put that on. And then why don't you tell us about badges?
All right. Does anyone here have any Nostr badges? I know you got some. So I'll talk a little bit about what a badge is, how to make them. You can think of a badge as essentially a verifiable credential. It is cryptographically verifiable that if you have a badge, that it came from a Nostr user. So I do want to pull up any client you have that's logged in where I can. Okay. So I already made 2 badges, and I've been freely distributing them. You can think of badges in different contexts where there might be a badge that just has like widespread appeal, where maybe lots of people are going to ask for the badge and they're going to want it. There might be some badges where it's more exclusive. And I'll give you a couple examples. So here is my badges page. The first thing you see is badges that I've accepted. And you can see I accepted a Bitcoin Believer badge, but that was a badge that I created. I accepted Nostr Fitness, Nostr Addict, and Fitness badge. It's already a little bit annoying because I have 2 redundant badges. I have Nostr Fitness and Fitness badge, and they came from the same person. And I just kind of mindlessly accepted them when they came in. And now I'm like, oh, wow, these badges are forever stuck to my profile. I don't know if there is part of the process that allows you to remove a badge. Is there? Okay, I think it might just fall under the existing framework of updatable events. I haven't gone that deep into the weeds with it. But essentially, with badges, when you're first awarded a badge, it's going to sit here in this tab. So at this point, there's a, you can think of it as a verifiable credential. There's a signed event saying that whoever the creator of the badge is has awarded me the badge. So I've been awarded Meme Connoisseur. The TSB stands for, what is it, the Sovereign Bitcoiner Community. But I haven't signed anything attesting that I care about this badge or that I want the badge. That's another process where I can go in and accept it. And another thing is you can create your own badges. So this page, these are the badges that I created. Bitcoin Benjamin is kind of an idea, like you could think about how DAOs could incorporate something like this. So, you know, there's this weird phenomenon of all these important Bitcoiners who are named Ben. So I decided to kind of honor or commemorate that with its own badge. And I just gave it out to, you know, people like anybody who I think is an important Bitcoiner who's named Ben. And found out that BTC Sessions is also a Ben. So there's so many good ones. Now the Bens of the world, they might get together and say, we don't know who this is. This badge is bogus. The artwork it's not AI generated. They could, yeah, you know, they could be like, what's the inflation rate on this Benjamin badge? Like, are we gonna just let new Bens in? Like, he's like, yes, I think you're on here. What's your? I think, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, the Bens, they could say, you know what, we don't care about this, but we're going to make our own. And I think it's easy to see how something like badges could be a form of, like, membership in some kind of online organization. You could definitely see badges being awarded in person, like, say, at the upcoming Nostr convention. What is it called? Nostrica? Nostrica, yeah. So when people physically enter the venue, like, that badge could be awarded. So you actually know that somebody was physically there, and that's one example. Another, like, possible use case of a badge, this other badge that I created. If somebody's going to claim a badge of Bitcoin Believer, like, not everybody's going to want to do that. You're kind of like taking a stand for something. So you could think about badges like that, but you could also think about, you know, that's a system that can be abused as well. Somebody could claim a badge representing, like, some kind of belief system, but just to get false credit within some organization. So there's a lot of ideas around badges, and right now they're mostly just for fun. But I think they're going to be kind of important going forward. Any questions on badges?
The important part, what are some of the cool use cases you guys see?
I think if you think about a lot of things that are already done, where people go through lengthy processes to get certified, even getting academic credentials, I think you could think about slowly migrating some of those into cryptographic credentials. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on Nostr, but it's the same idea, where, yes.
Could I put a relay on my car and then make it so my
I think you could imagine ways of using using badges as some type of physical access key, whether it's for a car or rooms. I don't know if I would be comfortable using that with a car, but I think there could be potential there. Or let's take another example. Like, what about checking into a room at a hostel? Like, I did this once in DC, and it was a really complicated process, going through a lot of fiat verification systems. So I think it's easy to imagine how something like badges could provide a much more streamlined verification for something like that. All right, I'll hand it back to Super.
I have another question.
Yes.
Are these just NFTs for Bitcoin maximalists?
So they're quite different from NFTs. One difference is that a badge is not transferable. So a badge is assigned one time to a profile, and now you have it, but there's nothing you can do. You could build your own layer, like your own sort of ordinal style layer of another badge that represents the transfer of an original badge, but only the people who bought into this system, like people buy into the ordinal system, would accept that. But in the basic implementation of badges, there's no concept of transferability, and it's also distinct from NFTs in the sense that there's no blockchain behind it. All right.
Thank you, Captain Stacks. Let's give him a big hand. All right, cool. So that's badges, and I just wanted to show you one more thing. This shows one guy made a badge called Friend of Sonder, and according to Fiat Jaff, this is the coolest invention of the decade. So people can verify who their friends are by making little pictures for them. So that's nice. There we go. Is that better? Improvement?
Yes.
So the best thing in the decade is that you can make little pictures and share them with your friends. Aw, how sweet. All right, the next thing I want to go over is obla.news. I forgot to put badges.page on Telegraph. Nostr badges. Obla is a blog site, which currently has a bunch of Chinese stuff on it. But yeah, like here's an example of something. You can make little blog posts, write them up in Markdown, and then post them on obla.news. And I think there's something about like relays go in the URL or something like that. I forget exactly how this works. Let me just see what happens if I do that. No, the URL didn't change. Anyway, yeah, you can see what posts people have made on this thing. Here's someone just published one a few seconds ago called Bitcoin Blocks Puzzle Strategy, and so you can read about that, and supports images, supports bold text, all the Markdown things. So that's kind of cool. I think it's neat to be able. It's neat to have a client where you can create blog posts, because that's not been done on Nostr before. Although, where's the create button? I wanted to do an example, and I don't see. What is this big one? Is that?
Do they have zaps enabled? Like, can you zap you should be able to. That's just a bit.
You should, yeah. It would just be a reply, but I don't see a button for. Well, yeah, I see a zap button, but nothing happens when you click it. So, still, I guess it's still in progress. Yeah.
Are the images references to external resources, or are people storing images on Nostr relays?
Almost certainly they're not storing them on Nostr relays, and they're probably just linking to an image somewhere else. This person got the image from zapread.com, so posted it somewhere else. Yeah, most relays don't want you storing images on them. Another thing in the same vein is blogstack.io, which is basically the same thing. It just has a different interface. But yeah, you can go and read articles by people. I just showed you this one in the other client. And here's the one that I was just looking at. But it's the same thing with a different interface. Maybe this one has zaps enabled already. Let me see. Support this author? That sounds... Click the zap button under the user card.
Any of them have like medium style where you can like
I don't know. Maybe you can. Let me see what happens if I click this.
That require a new name.
I don't know. Maybe you should make that. Make a competitor that has the ability to highlight a piece and say, I'm just going to comment on this particular part. That'd be sweet. Or contribute to their GitHubs.
Is a long form post, is that a specific kind? Or is this just kind one?
I think they are specific kinds, a long form post. A way to perhaps check that, I wonder if I go to snort.social and type this in. Huh?
It is a specific kind.
How do you search for address? I don't know how to do that.
Well, Snort doesn't support in adders.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's a special kind for these, and I think there should be a way to view the raw event, because I always like to do that. I like to view the JSON. But yeah, this one says it has support for zaps, and at least it does show the guy's thing, his what's it called? His Nostr or Lightning address. But it said to click this lightning bolt, and that's not doing anything. So still a work in progress for all these things. Anyway, I'm going to put both of those.
You gotta log in, that's why I think if they don't display a message when you're not logged in.
You need Albi. Whatever. So I can't log in because I don't want to give them access to my private key. Or I guess that's not what that would do anyway. But I'm going to put both of those in here. Blogging on Nostr. You can do it with blogstack and abla.news. So check those out. And then we got Nostr IRC. If anyone remembers the old IRC channels of old, they look kind of like this. Not that. Open image. They look kind of like this, where you're chatting with people inside of a terminal, and you're like, hey, this is me talking to this guy, or that pub key. Or apparently it supports not NIP5 identifiers, but this is just a demo image. Anyway, that's kind of cool. So somebody recreated IRC on Nostr, and you can install it right here and check it out, and have a little chat client inside of a terminal. What's up?
Do you know if these chats are compatible or interoperable with the existing chats that you can join from like an Amethyst client?
I don't know. Let's see. It supports NIP1, NIP5, end of service events, or end of stream. You can post a global. You can import a private key. It doesn't mention supporting the NIP28 chat standard. So I suspect this is just showing kind 1 events. But I haven't looked at it. So that'd be cool. Someone can take a look and maybe add support for NIP28 events today. That would be a cool contribution to if anyone's looking to do something like that. Let me go to IRC on Nostr. Has anyone here ever used IRC? I used to use it all the time. It's a great way to chat back in the day. Then we got NIP4. So we're done. That is all of the topics I had for the day. And because none of the Nostr things let me post this without logging in, I'm just going to publish it to Telegram. And then I'm going to... There's the URL. So if anyone wants to see all the things, you can just copy that URL and you'll get this page with all that info. So, oh, hey. What's up, Christopher? And I forget. What's your name? Dee? Kiki. Oh, hi, Kiki. Cool. Good to see you all. Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to show, after going through all the latest Nostr news, is I wanted to show you guys how to make a Python client. A friend of mine came in the other day. His name's Nathan. He came in and asked me if I would help him make a bot. He wanted to make a bot that would, like, I don't know what it's supposed to do. I think he's supposed to take information from one place and post it on Nostr. And he didn't know how to do it. So the only programming language he knew was Python, and I've never made a client in Python before. So he just sat down at that table and made one. It took about 10 minutes. And I wanted to show you guys what we made. In case anyone's familiar with Python, you can probably help us do it better. That'd be cool. So I made a little directory called Testing Python WebSockets. And inside, I made this file called test.py. And I'm just going to open it up in Sublime so you can see. There's not much in it. The only libraries I needed were asyncio WebSockets and SecP256K1, which is a Bitcoin library. Everything else here is just automatically included. Like, I had to import them, but I didn't have to install them. So that's kind of cool. It's a very lightweight client here. I defined a function called hash, which is just a wrapper around the hashlib library, and gives me the hash of an event. And then I created two functions, one called listen, which is how I talk to relays, or how I request events from them. And I would just uncomment that and comment out the rest so I can show you how that works. So if I run my terminal, I'm going to open up testing Python WebSockets, and I'm going to run test.py. Basically what it did, it just subscribed to a relay, or it connected to a relay and subscribed to Will's post, William Kazarin, and then shows me his 100 most recent posts, which are all these things. Now these are of course JSON, so you can then like use the JSON package to unpack that and like, well, this one's an encrypted message, so that would be a bad example, but a lot of these are, you know, not encrypted, like this one's just an emoji. But you can like get the content out of it and display that for users and stuff. And so that only took, you know, what, 8 lines of code, or however many that is, less than 20 to do that. And it's basically just using the WebSockets library to connect to the Damus relay. Of course, you can connect to however many relays you want. I create a subscription by, I usually create a private key, and then I just take the first 20 bytes of that private key, which is what this line is doing. And I use that as a subscription ID. That way I know it's unique. I subscribe to the author who has this public key. That's William Kazarin. And I've just made a subscription and fired it off. I fired off that subscription to my relay. And then knowing that he would give me a response, I told it for the first 100 responses he gives, just, you know, print them and then close. And that's all it did. So very simple way in Python to talk to relays. I encourage you to test that out. And of course, you could do other things. You don't have to subscribe to a particular author. You could subscribe to all kind1 events. And now, if I run this same thing again, instead of getting all of Will's posts, now we get all the recent kind1 posts, which are a lot of Chinese users are posting, and some people are posting pictures. But yeah, this is a great way. You know, once you have this, you can just parse and get the content and then show it to people. There's a bunch of fire emojis. Some of this stuff is even recognizable. So it's really easy to make a nice Nostr client, and that's just the part that listens for events. Let me comment that out again and show you the other part where I create an event. So this other part is just another, I don't know, how many lines of code is that? From 30 to 68, so 38 lines of code. You can write an event. So I create a private key, and you'd probably want to save this for your users. I derive a public key from that private key. I create a little event, and let's just say, what do we want our event to say, guys? Give me a prompt. Come on, someone shout something. Looks pretty good. There we go. I'm going to create an event. I'm going to assign it to the current time. It's going to be a kind1 event. I'm not tagging anyone in it. I'm using my public key as the event, because you have to put your public key in Nostr. Also, this little thing says to drop the first 2 characters, because Bitcoin public keys all start with 02 or 03, but Nostr ones don't, so you just remove those first 2 characters. Then I create an event array, because we use arrays when we sign something in Nostr. We use an array because it preserves the order that you put things in, whereas JSONs don't. JSONs usually get alphabetically ordered. So we use an array so that every time we create an event and then hash it, it'll produce the same hash every time by ensuring everything's ordered properly. Then we just hash it to get the ID, sign the hash right here using privkey.schnorr sign, which is included in the SecP256K1 library. print our event and fire it off to the relay with this send function. So let's do that. Save and run this again. And so we fired off our event, which looks like this. It says, looks pretty good. It was created at this time, and this is the pub key that we generated when we made this event. And when we fired it off, we got an OK message back from the relay. The relay said, OK, your event is valid. And now we publish this on Nostr. So in a mere 68 lines of code here, we're able to both send and receive messages and talk to Nostr relays. I think that's pretty cool. Python's so easy. This is like the version of this I made in JavaScript was 120 lines, and in Python it's even easier. So it's really easy to get started hacking away with Nostr, and I encourage anyone who's never done it before, go ahead and make something cool. Make your first Nostr bot or whatever you want to do. Any questions about any of that? Cool. Well then, let's get started. That concludes the presentation portion of this NostrDevs thing. The rest of the time is meant for you guys to get to hacking away, and me and Topher and him, Captain Stacks and Austin will all be available to answer questions or help you out if you need any assistance. Any questions?
Did you talk about NDK at all?
No. Nostr Dev Kit?
This came out literally this morning, or the website was put up this morning. If you go to ndkit.com, someone, I guess associated with LNBBP, made a...
Yeah, come up and tell us about it. You can wear the microphone. Hot off the presses, guys.
I was making a little video this morning exploring some of the Rust Nostr libraries because I had seen that on GitHub someone from the LNBBP had done this Rust Nostr. So I'm starting to build it in Rust. Previously, when I wanted to build Nostr Rust code, I would just harvest code from Skyzzybug's Nostr RS relay. But some guy has been kind of quietly building this Rust Nostr library. And I was poking around in here and saw that this was being used by something called the NostrDev kit, which I think is over here. And yeah, the website was apparently updated 3 hours ago. I think they just launched this. So, and I don't know who these two guys are. One's with LNBBP, the other one just people I've never heard of before. But they made this ndkit.com. Which is pretty slick, and they've got a really good Hello World tutorial on here. So if you're trying to build in Rust and you want to do a good introductory tutorial, I did this in 10 minutes, 20 minutes earlier today. But they got a really great Hello Nostr tutorial, stepping you through how to install Rust, create a new Rust binary, and it's a pretty slick website. So if you're building Rust, Nostr, I don't know what their ambitions are for this, but we've already got the Bitcoin development kit based on Rust Bitcoin. We've got the Lightning development kit based on Rust Lightning. And now we've got the Nostr development kit based on Rust Nostr. So check it out. Thanks.
I was wondering what that acronym was, because I saw that, but I didn't know what MDK was.
Well, the MDK that Cash App just said that they were going to do the mining development kit, and these people now do the NDK, because we'll have every conceivable.
I like all the decades. I mean, we're a Donkey Kong community in Bitcoin, and I love that. In fact, I like this format. I didn't think we were going to have a format where just anyone who wants to come up can just tell what Nostr projects there are, but that's a great format. So I've talked about my thing. He talked about badges. He talked about NDK. Topher, what do you got?
I like to bring up nips.be whenever I can.
Come up here and tell us about it. Free for all, everybody.
Yeah, so real quick, if you want to be involved in the Nostr protocol as it's being shaped, this is the only thing you need to remember. It's nips.be. You go to that website, and what you'll get is a very simple little website that, and I see you already have some of these links are purple. You can basically go straight to the nips that are in the official GitHub protocol, or sorry, the official GitHub repository. But what you can also do is click here to search nips and PRs, and this is amazing because this will show you all the NIPs that are published and all the NIPs that are also currently in development. So, for example, NIP 30. Let's pick one that is not an official NIP yet. How do you scroll? Here we go. Oh, here we go. So you can see that these are PRs that are in the status of being merged, or whether they're open or closed for the official NIPs. But then there's also, I want to find a good example of this. Like, I guess badges might be one. Like, I want to see one that takes me to not Nostr, but to the actual, yeah, like a draft PR.
The badges one is a draft. It should be that.
Yeah, but see, this badges one is under the official Nostr GitHub. But some of these links will take you to the actual repositories. I'm trying to find 38 on here. Maybe I can search it. It would be 38. PR 38. No, that's not it. But anyways, this is a great resource to just see like all of the NIPs that are in development, all the NIPs that are being proposed, everything. Like this just gives you literally everything. And if you ever want to get here, oh, here's a search bar. Oh yeah, you can search by kind too, which is pretty cool. So if you just want to see like an overview of where the Nostr protocol is in terms of development, just nips.be. That's all you got to remember. Short and sweet. Awesome. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, this is a cool format. Ben, what do you got for us? You got some cool Nostr thing you want to share?
I do not have a Nostr project.
Okay.
I have a Nostr project, but I have prospective integrations with Nostr that they haven't done the one.
All right. I hope if you need any help, let me know, or any of the other people who are. Austin, you got something you want to share?
Sure, I was just testing to make sure it still works. So.
Awesome.
But
You want to plug in your laptop?
no, not necessarily. I'm just going to go to GitHub. But I made a project called MyNIP5 because I noticed that everyone was doing NIP5 verification through, like, Nostr plebs, is it?
Move the microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay. Everyone is doing their verification, their checkmark through this centralized service, which for me kind of like defeats the purpose. Like, you can trust that someone's, has identity by their NIP5 if you trust the domain, and if the domain links to other sources to where you can verify them. So like, my alias is Bitcoin plebdev, and I have the website bitcoinpleb.dev. If you go to that website, it links to my GitHub, it links to my Twitter. It's like cross-verifiable. And so I made MyNIP5, which is just like an easy update and run 3 lines, and then you can deploy a server with your own kind of NIP5 verification. And so let me find it. Yep, here it is. So next, Vercel lets you deploy a free Flask Python application. They just let you do it, and then it stays online. It's kind of crazy. So this is what it's using. So all you need to do is go inside of this Nostr.
Is it stateless?
Is it stateless?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just go into app.py and you just add your Nostr alias here, and then you add your public key, and then you just need to basically Vercel login, Vercel init, and then hit Vercel, and it deploys, and then you can go into whatever Nostr client and just point to that URL, or of course like update it and add your own domain if you have like a special domain you're hodling. So seemingly anyone could do this, even if they're not technical, but they have a domain they want to use for their like NIP5 verification. So that's all.
Could this be, could it be just as easily done in some kind of server-side JavaScript? Well, I guess Vercel doesn't support Node, but it could be a serverless API, right?
Yeah, there's another trick you can do on Repl. Well, like for me, the whole thing was just making it free and making it to where someone who doesn't know what they're doing could just like do it and forget about it, basically, and it would still work. I usually use like paid services like Heroku, but you can use basically all I know of is Vercel or Replit. Replit has this trick where you can keep your server alive with this keep alive kind of like cron job that you run to like you can just search keep alive Python Replit and you'll find that trick. But
Keep it alive. I was just wondering, could it be done as a Next.js serverless API?
yes, I did do this, and it was actually kind of weird because I think Keon helped me with this actually, because Next.js makes you start your API routes at /API no matter what domain you have, but for the NIP5 you need /.wellknown.
If you make a static file in the public folder, I have a GitHub example manager with Next.js.
Really, I should have talked to you. Well, he showed me another way where you can reroute or reassign a route to a different endpoint, basically, in the next next config.
I've never actually used Vercel, but I know how to do that. I know how to do that in Vercel.
Really?
Yeah, I've done that.
Well, I should have asked you, but you weren't here, so it was okay.
The NIP5 can be a static file and file.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also do it in GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages gives you access to the .wellknown folder, so you can put a static text file in there, set it up as a GitHub page, and then redirect the URL to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's even easier, because then you could just clone that and you just put it in. You don't have to deploy. It's already deployed. But I guess it's just like the updating domain thing is what I was thinking about, because on Vercel, no matter where your domain is, it's really easy to import it. Like if you bought some vanity domain that you want to use, because that was my use case.
It's easy on GitHub Pages
To put in your own domain.
Yeah,
Dang.
Enigma does that.
Nice.
On Enigma, it's just a GitHub page, and then I redirect the URL to it with CNAME.
I've been sleeping on GitHub Pages. I'm just so used to Vercel.
Yeah, there's all these easy tools.
I know. It's like so easy nowadays to deploy. Anyway.
Thank you, Austin.
Cheers.
Any other questions? Got stuck. Yeah, so we'll be around to answer any questions, and I think that's it. Unless if anyone else has something, Captain Stacks.
Familiar at all with the Nostr bridge?
Nope. Why don't you come up and tell us about it? Nostr Bridge.
All right, there's a project for bridging Nostr with the fediverse, and it's called Nostr. And a lot of this stuff is new to me, but it really should have been on my radar because fediverse has been around for at least 10 years, and some of the protocols that it runs on are W3 standards. So even if we have a better way of doing things, I think it's still useful to have a background on what's already been done and figure out how it works and maybe in what ways it can be made better. But what Nostr Pub is, it's a relay. It's a relay that joins, it's essentially a bridge that joins these two worlds. So it functions as, it runs as a Mastodon server, I believe, and as a Nostr client. So all you have to do is add nostr.pub to your relay list, and that bridges you into the fediverse. So just by doing that one thing, you can start to see events that originated in fediverse, and they'll just show up in your regular Nostr feed. And then you can, so over time, you can start to make connections with people that are on the fediverse side. If you want to get more involved, you can also create an account in fediverse, which is what I did. So I still primarily use my Nostr account, but I have both, and it makes it a little bit easier to try to use the bridge to its fullest extent. But I think it's something that it's very easy to overlook it and ignore it because it's like we're so excited about Nostr. But I don't want to overlook Fediverse either. I think there was a major Bitcoin forum that just recently moved away from there. Is anyone familiar with that? Bitcoin Talk, maybe?
Yeah.
Which one was it?
It's like it was a Bitcoin dev community. I forget the name of it, but it was on Mastodon.
Right.
And some people were really pissed because the dude just kind of shut it down.
Yeah. Well, they should move to Nostr. I mean, Nostr is like the native social communication protocol for Bitcoin. So I don't think they should be too pissed, but I think we should still look at how Mastodon was working for them for the years that they used it, and look to a lot of people are disillusioned with legacy social media, and you have refugees from Twitter and Facebook, and they're not all going to land in Nostr. So it's really useful to have this tool where we can still bridge the divide across these two decentralized social networks. And so I would encourage anyone to at least just add nostr.pub to your relay list. It's a good way to start out. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody wants to go further into it. Thank you.
Is anyone in here old enough to remember BitMessage? I think BitMessage was like Nostr before Nostr. BitMessage was, or I guess it technically still exists, a peer-to-peer communications protocol used to send encrypted messages to another person or to many subscribers. It sounds a lot like NIP. The many subscribers thing sounds like NIP1, and the encrypted messages thing sounds like NIP4. Don't need root certificate authorities. It used Bitcoin pub key, private key stuff. Apparently there is a cross-site scripting vulnerability, which is another thing it has in common with Nostr. So, yeah, I don't know. A lot of the stuff about Nostr reminds me of this BitMessage protocol from a long time ago. One example of where this comes up, BIP47, bips.xyz/47. BIP47 is reusable payment codes, or stealth. Sometimes they're called stealth addresses, and sometimes they're called, they have another name. Samurai uses them. I forget what they're, paynims. Sometimes they're called paynims. But back when the paynim protocol was invented, they suggested using BitMessage to notify people when they have a payment, a Bitcoin payment coming into their wallet. And so, like, BitMessage used to be what Bitcoiners used to send each other messages outside of the Bitcoin protocol, and now we use Nostr. So I don't know much about BitMessage, but sometimes I'd like to explore what it was like back then in 2000. What year was this? 2015. Before we had Nostr, we had this thing, and I'd like to know how it worked.
I think that's the same attitude we should look at Mastodon, is kind of, even as a historical artifact, we try to understand how it worked and what it was good at and in what ways it could be made better.
Cool. Well, that concludes everything, though, so I'm shutting this down, and we'll still be around. You can stick around for however long you want, working on stuff, and we'll be available for questions. Thank you, everybody.